Finally today, lower quality and lower yields. That's the big takeaway from the University of Nebraska's 2020 winter wheat variety tests. Researchers study 18 winter wheat locations across the state to gain a better understanding of the challenges Nebraska farmers face when growing wheat. Dryland cropping system specialist Cody Creech joined me to discuss this year's findings.
We came into it knowing that there needed to be a few changes that we thought would really improve the quality of the data and the reliability of the data. And the first thing that we did last year was we started to seed all the plots on a uniform basis. And so out west, all the dryland plots were seeded at 900,000 seeds per acre, and in the eastern part, everything went in at 1.2 million seeds per acre. And then the second thing that we've done that is really nice is we added an intensive management trial at the mead location and at the seeding location. And we call these kind of like this. They're sister trials. They're right next to another a variety trial. But in the intensive management trial, we are seeing what the wheat will do if we give it an extra push. So this year we added additional nitrogen. I think each location received an additional 30 pounds of nitrogen, and we also applied a fungicide to protect from any disease, particularly stripe rust.
And growers have had some pretty strong wheat harvests these last few years. How did this year's results stack up?
Yeah, so with the wheat, as you mentioned, in the last few years we've had pretty good wheat growing weather with ample rainfall. And pretty good weather. This last year, we definitely had some challenges. We are really dry out west. We are short rainfall right now, but we also had coming out of the winter, we had some extreme freeze events where it was so cold that the wheat had greened up, and then it looked like you went out and you sprayed it with glyphosate. It was just dead. But it recovered from that, but it definitely reduced the number of tillers that wheat had and reduced the yield. And then we had a lot of heat in late June when that wheat's trying to flower. That heat was super hot, and when you have that hot weather, that really, again, it reduces yield, it reduces the test weight of the wheat, and we saw that reflected this year. So overall, yields were lower. We had a little bit lower quality as far as test weight, but the protein was higher compared to years past.
What are some of the top things that you'd like growers to take away from these wheat variety trials when they're making their decisions for next season?
Probably the number one thing is to think about the year-to-year variability. I mentioned how in previous years we had a lot of rainfall. This year it was drier. That's why it's so important to look at multi-year averages. The varieties that were doing really good the last couple of years with a lot of rainfall might not have been the ones that were doing good with this drier weather. And so expecting that we'll maybe stay dry for another few years, looking at those varieties that are going to do better under dry conditions is important. But really looking at those multi-year averages and saying what works well over multiple years and not necessarily just what did well this last year. The second thing would be to really look at the characteristics of the different wheat varieties, whether you need a wheat that is tall or short or has good standability, whether you're after wheat that has good protein or disease resistance. All of those characteristics are there in the characteristics tables that we have published. And so looking at those specific characteristics on what a grower needs for their specific field or farm is important. So those are the two big things as a grower looks to select a variety for next year.